Hey everyone, this is Rachel. Thanks for clicking on my video. And y'all, I came in to talk about today the hate for Africa and how real it really is. Kevin Hart has scheduled a show there in Egypt, and the show was recently canceled due to some comments that Kevin made. And y'all, that's what I wanted to talk about. But before I get into it, I wanted to talk about, I know that I've been gone for a few weeks, and explain why. For the last year, I have not been feeling well, y'all. Had all kinds of health issues, and just recently I had surgery, as recent as last week. Last week I had surgery. I am very much in the recuperating phase. The pain that I felt prior to the surgery and after the surgery has pretty much gone away. I still experience a little bit, but it's not anything that I can't deal with without, taking medication. I really don't even need to take it. It's not to the point where I need it. But all of that out the way, let's get into this story about Kevin Hart's comments. So as I mentioned, he had a show scheduled there in Egypt. And allegedly, Kevin Hart made a comment about Egyptian history. So I'm going to read this clip from, what they claim he said, and then we'll discuss. So it says the Middle East focused news site Al Monitor reports that opposition to Hart's performance in Egypt grew in December when a quote was attributed to him that questioned Egyptian history. Allegedly, Kevin said, "We must teach our children the true history of Black Africans when they were kings in Egypt, and not just the era of slavery that is cemented by education in America," Hart was reported to have said in December, reportedly adding, "Do you remember the time when we were kings?" However, Al Monitor quote notes the quote has never been attributed to a particular source, and whether Hart said it is unclear. Now that's what Kevin said, and or allegedly said, and it is the main reason why his concert was canceled, because he attributed Egyptian history to the history of Black people. Now, y'all, the reason why I wanted to talk about this is I always read the comments under a story that, I find out on social media just to see what other people think about it. And the comments under this particular story all were in the vein of Egyptians are not Black. They don't understand why Black people are trying to claim them. They are not Black. Now, that bothered me a bit, and here's why. If you know where Egypt is in the world, you will understand why Kevin said what he allegedly said. Egypt is located in the northern region of Africa. It is on the continent of Africa, up in the north, So while they might not be dark skinned, they are African. If the country that you live in is located on the continent of Africa, you are African. Now, what people fail to realize is all our Africans are not dark skinned. They come in every shade of the rainbow like all other Black people do. This is more of where their country is located, not the color of their skin. We're not basically claiming that they are black people, not all of us. Kevin's point was that they are located on the continent of Africa, and during their history, they had kings and queens. You know, it's Egypt. Come on. So I'm following where he's going with this. Now, they claim that, Kevin said that it is the true history of black Africans. Now, we do know that if you're born on the continent of Africa, more than likely, especially back then, before we had planes and all of that, and we were flying in white people, that more than likely those people that inhabited that northern region of Africa back in the, time of the pharaohs and all of that, they were people who had dark skin. They were not Caucasian. They were melanated people. So that is what Kevin is referring to. Also, we cannot forget again that Egypt is located on the continent of Africa. So Egyptians cannot say that they are not African. That is akin to an American who lives in a state in America. Say, like I live in Ohio, which is in America. That is like me saying I'm not American. It sounds stupid. Okay? Again, if the country you come from is located on the continent of Africa, you are African. Whether you want to claim that or not is entirely up to you. But the fact remains, you live in a country that is on the continent of Africa. Hell, my daughter was dating just recently a young man that was from Ghana. It's on the continent of Africa. He's African. In college, I dated a couple Africans myself. It's been so long ago, I forgot which country they came from. But the young man that I dated for the longest when I was in college, he was African because the country that he came from was on the continent of Africa. Y'all see where I'm going with this. So in those comments under this story about Kevin, it was a myriad of white people saying that we're trying to blackwash history. And I was sitting there thinking, really? Really? Africa is said to be the cradle of civilization. And the people who live on there are melanated people. So we're not blackwashing anything. We're going by what archaeologists have told us, scientists have told us. When they're finding all of these fossils and these Egyptian remains, and where are they finding them at? Not in Caucasian countries. They are finding them there. The pharaohs, all of that, all of those Egyptian statues. I mean, this hate for Africa is so strong, and it's sad. Y'all, I am, and I've said this several times, I am so proud to be a descendant of those African people. I have said before that our history did not start here in America. We were a people that were enslaved. We weren't born slaves because basically, people came to Africa and got us, and they say that warring tribes back in Africa would sell off, their prisoners, their African prisoners that they had gotten during war. They would sell those people to white men. So I'm not just saying that only, you know, white people came over there and stole us. We do know and we do realize that during war, prisoners are taken. So that happened over in Africa, and those African prisoners were traded for goods. So yes, some of the African nations traded people for goods, but that's neither here nor there. What we're talking about is these Egyptians not claiming Africa. How could you not? I mean, they want no parts of who they are, truly. I heard that they consider themselves this, they feel that they are that. It doesn't matter what they consider themselves or they feel that they are. The fact remains is that your people are on the continent of Africa. A beautiful people, you know? And for you to get so butthurt about what Kevin Hart allegedly said is very telling. And it just further shows me that the hate for Africa is so strong. But it's something that's been ingrained in people for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, that everything that is associated with Africa is bad. Everything that comes from Africa is bad. So that is probably why these Egyptians want no part of saying that they are African, when we all realize that they are. Again, Egypt, Cairo, and all of that is in northern Africa. Y'all, I was outdone. And as I was sitting there, I was thinking, just let it go. It's a story on social media, blah, blah, blah. But as I, clicked off the story and moved on, it kept bothering me. And it is this thing that has been ingrained in people, this belief that our ancestors over there in Africa were not worthy, were not anything special to want to be a part of. I beg to differ. I have African features, and I am very proud of it. I've never wished, longed, or desired to be anything different than what I am. My wide nose, my lips, my hair, it's a part of who I am. It's a part of the people that I come from. And I was taught, however we got over here, to be proud. I remember my grandfather telling me, slavery was a bad thing, and we went through the whole history of slavery with my grandfather giving me his ideas on it. But when he got finished telling that story, he told me, Rachel, do you know how strong of a people that we had to be to survive it and bring ourselves up out of it? He said we endured it for so many hundreds of years. And even though we were going through that, we always had this desire to be free. To be free like we were over in Africa. He said no matter what we went through, we would fight. We were willing to die for what we were born into. Because again, we weren't born slaves. We were enslaved. And so he always would tell me, be proud of the people that you came from. Be proud of their strength and their commitment that no matter what, they were going to be free again. And for that alone, I am proud. If the Egyptians don't want to claim Africa as who they are, that's on them. But look at the map. Look at where they're located. They are African. It has nothing to do with their skin color, because as we know, those melanated people over in Africa come in every shade. You know? Every shade. But the core of who they are is African. Mother country. Y'all, that's the end of my video. I want to know what y'all think about it. If I was Kevin Hart, I wouldn't even worry about it. There's enough places on this earth that want to see him in concert, and doing his stand-up. Let him go there. I figure like this. That is their loss. He is an international comedian. He's been in all these movies and all of that. He may not be your cup of tea, but I agree with him on some things that he said. And if I was Kevin, I wouldn't even worry about this child. If they don't want to be African, hell with them. As always, y'all, thanks for watching my video. Y'all be safe out there, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye now.